All right. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining. We'll give folks a moment just to get logged in and settled. I think everyone can see my screen now with the presentation. Okay, wonderful. Okay. Terrific. So thanks all for joining today. I think we will just start. We have a lot of wonderful insights and great alumni here to share their perspectives with you. But first of all, welcome. This is our discussion around the return of investment, or the ROI of the LGO program. And we are excited to feature some great alumni to share more about what their ROI of completing the LGO program has been for them, both personally and professionally. I'm Eileen Jacob. I work on the admissions team. I'm also joined by my colleagues, Pam and Sharona, who are working behind the scenes. And we have a terrific group here of alumni who I will introduce in just a moment. For logistical clarification, we have some questions for our panelists throughout the next couple of slides, but if you have questions that you have for our panelists, please feel free to submit them through the Q&A section on your menu bar below, and we will try to get through as many of those as we can. As you listen today, also try and consider how you define ROI, because there's a lot of literature and articles and just general feedback about the ROI of graduate programs. And so it's important to understand what an advanced degree means to you and what you hope to gain from your graduate studies, in particular, a dual degree program like LGO, getting your MBA and MS in engineering, which can be very different for each person. So that being said, let's kick things off and introduce our wonderful panelists. And maybe we can go in order on the screen here of Megan, Chen, and Elizabeth. If you could each say hello and maybe what you were doing before LGO, and then we can definitely dive deeper as the presentation goes.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Megan McClenahan. I graduated in 2019. I did my master's in mechanical engineering and my MBA. Before LGO, I was working my background is in chemical engineering. I was working as a control systems engineer doing automation for pharmaceuticals.
Great, thanks. And actually, Megan, what engineering department were you a part of?
Mechanical.
Okay, sorry, thank you. Great. How about Chen? Would you like to go next?
Sure. I'm Chen Arambula. Originally from Mexico, but before LGO, I was doing design engineer, designing landing gear, and I was working in this company. It's called Zodiac Aerospace, and then I'm currently working for Formoro company. Quick update there on my position. I recently moved to manufacturing transformation in the company. Really excited to be here, answer questions.
Hi, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Howe. I just graduated this year. At LGO, I did electrical engineering and computer science, mostly computer science. And I am still enjoying my summer vacation, but I will be starting with Johnson & Johnson, doing digital strategy and execution in their vision care supply chain space right after Labor Day. Before LGO, I worked at Wayfair as a software developer.
Great, thanks, Elizabeth. Thanks, everyone, for introducing yourselves. And we hope that our panelists today can shed some light from different perspectives, different timelines of completing LGO in their careers on how their journey has been and their return on investment for the program. So we're going to jump into some questions, but first wanted to talk a little bit about some helpful things to think about with the differences between tangible and intangible benefits of your graduate studies, or even more so, quantifiable versus qualitative. Of course, there's tangible benefits that can mean job offers, increases in your salary and signing bonuses, or starting a new venture too. And from that perspective, A few numbers to share from our most recent LGO graduating class. There was about a 65% increase in their annual salary after graduating, and each student received an average of about 2.7 job offers, and 100% were had jobs at the point of graduation, in fact. And about 75% did receive signing bonuses. So it's a healthy start, especially for the graduating class, which I'm sure Elizabeth can speak to, of having quite an adventure going through COVID and coming out the other side successful. There's more details too, if you're interested, on our graduating LGO class, as well as other career statistics from previous classes, industry details, and that sort of thing on our website too, if you're curious about more of those nuances. Thinking on the other side too of, qualitative benefits of the LGO program, there could be greater, confidence to explore new industries or functions, gain new ways to solve problems, and develop each individual's own leadership style, and possibly just a new perspective on your future goals or professional calling that you hadn't considered before grad school. New doors opening up, new people to meet, and give you different ways to think about your future plans. So, that being said, let's talk to our panelists more about this and maybe take it from the beginning of the journey. If any of you could share your considerations of going to grad school versus continuing working, did you kind of weigh the pros and cons of that, and how did you ultimately decide to apply to grad school? Maybe Chen, would you like to start as the LGO 2018 grad?
Yeah, no, definitely. I knew that I wanted to move into strategy in the company that I was working for. But then I didn't have the education, so that was, and also, I had to wait versus going for an MBA versus going for a master's in engineering. And then I came across the LGO program, and I was like, why not both? And then one of the considerations as well, I was in the Bay Area by the time, was to do an evenings and weekend program. Berkeley has a good program there. So I went and visited there. And so I will be working, I had a family by the time. I mean, I have 2 daughters. By the time I have only 1 daughter. So I really needed to wait and make a good decision, because I was gonna take 2 years of work. So that was big part of it. And I think, as Eileen mentioned, you have the quantitative part and then also the qualitative. I did numbers, I run numbers, like took a look at the prospective salaries, after 2 years of school, but then also the cost of opportunity. So what will happen if I stay in the company that I was working for? What's my career path there? How long will it take me to get to the salaries, the prospective salary after LGO, and all of that? It's sort of like an MPV, even though by the time I didn't know how to do an MPV. But that was kind of like my considerations.
I can go next, unless you want to move on to the next question.
No, please. Thanks, Megan. And then we'd love to, if Elizabeth, you have stuff to share too, that'd be great.
Yeah. So for me, I was originally, like Chen, I was considering an part-time program. I was in New York and I was looking at the Columbia part-time program, and I felt like that might be a good opportunity. I don't have to give up salary, and I could still get the same opportunities. I am still paying off my undergrad loans, so the idea of not having a salary for a while was really scary to me. Wasn't sure how I was going to be able to do that, but it turned out the job that I was at the time, they originally had said that they would sponsor, and then they decided that they would only sponsor up to a certain amount that was not going to make it worthwhile for me. And so for me, that was both an indication that they weren't particularly invested in me. And so it made more sense for me to just take the time off and really immerse myself in the experience. And I think, moving somewhere new and being around new people all the time is so much different from friends of mine that did part-time experiences, both in terms of networking opportunities, but also classes and how in depth you go, the ability to do, like at MIT, there are action learning labs, really important things. And so while I was scared to do it at first, I'm very glad that I did.
Sure, I can go next. Similar to Chen and Megan in that I was weighing between making that or not having an income for 2 years versus getting degrees. I was also thinking about what degree to get. I was at that time in my career thinking about whether I wanted to stay as an individual contributor in software or start managing people. And I felt like I wasn't sure. And I knew I liked software, but also I've never tried management. And also looking up at the leaders who made it higher up in the chain, I felt like I would need more than just the technical skills. So that led me to want or consider an MBA, but at the same time, I knew there were topics in engineering that I still wanted to learn and get deeper in. And so I found LGO, and like Chen, they thought about why not both. And then I did some visiting and digging around different schools, different programs, and I ended up picking LGO for the people that I've met and talked to, or even just reached out to. The speed in which the alums or current students reply and willingness to talk to me made me feel like I would get more than some finance knowledge, more than what I could get technically, or like Eileen was saying, the harder skills. I would also get the community and a wider network of people who are very, very down to earth and willing to help, but also super smart. And so that really drew me to apply. I thought it doesn't hurt to apply. I can decide if I want to go later and have more time to think about and explore my options. I ended up coming because I really fell in love with people, and also I wanted to see if I could try out different industries. Looking at the partner companies, there are a lot of companies in different industries, and I liked tech, but also the most natural place for a software engineer to be is tech. And with this degree, I ended up going into healthcare, which I think would have been very hard for me to try to get if I were just trying to switch on my own. So I think in that way, I was also thinking about what other industries can I try out when thinking about grad school in this program in particular.
Great, thank you all. And you all touched on some really interesting points, and it will definitely dive a little deeper, especially around Elizabeth, what you mentioned too of the networking community aspect, and Megan about action learning and other hands-on ways to get involved in LGO. So that's great. And as you went through the program too, were there tangible, definitions of your ROI that developed? Did you have an idea of exactly what you wanted to get out of grad school at the beginning of your journey? Just curious on your thoughts around that. And anyone can jump in here.
I knew that I wanted to get into a position where I felt like there was growth for me. I think frequently in engineering disciplines, you're a junior engineer, then you're a senior engineer, and then you're a manager. And there isn't necessarily a lot of skills overlap there. So I think, it can be hard for people to grow further in their careers beyond that, just because you're kind of tossed in. And so for me, I wanted to make sure that I was setting myself up for future success and not future frustration. That was the main thing that I was considering when I came in.
Go ahead, Chen.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, if I can jump in. I guess for me, coming from a different country, English is not my first language. So I was feeling like I was being boxed as just an engineer, like by myself designing stuff in my desk. And so what I wanted to get out of the program was to work a little bit more in my people skills, to work a little bit more in my business acumen, and also, public speaking, being able to articulate clearly what I want, the idea that I was trying to transmit. That was a big part of it for me. And I think I was really pleased with what Sloan did. there are all of these labs and clubs and opportunities that you have, events that you can be part of and organize that will help you practice on that. Even just to make a good resume, right? With the format and the things that you are supposed to put there and you are not supposed to put there. So you will have the support from the career department, just to go over, like literally go with you 1 hour over your resume, and then you can come back and then check and include the things that they told you that you're supposed to include and so on. They will work with you on like interviews and all of those things. So that was a big part for me.
I think I touched on it a little bit earlier, but basically I wanted some skills outside of engineering. I didn't have any business background, so I took some finance classes. We have to take an operation strategy class, but I thought that was really helpful for me as well in general, to think about how companies operate. So I was looking for building up the business acumen like Chen, and also getting to know myself better through some of the labs. There's this really popular class called ID Lab. Now, I think when I took it, it was their second year. And since then, it's been growing in popularity, basically about getting to know yourself better, to figure out your leadership style and how you like to lead and how to interact with those around you. I also really was looking for the community of people that I would get to know in the 2 years in the program, and also extend to the alum network as well. These were all my goals coming in.
Great, thank you all. Really helpful. And let's talk a little bit more about some more specific facets and thinking about the benefits of LGO in the short term versus long term. Once students are admitted and join, they often find immediate gains on sort of the while they're in the program, and how often within the first semester in the summer core classes. That's just for LGO students. Student committees that are run and led by LGO students are also up and running shortly after the start of the program, which gives LGOs the chance to take on leadership roles and helping to shape the student experience, from admissions to internship project topics to the domestic plant trek schedule. Just a lot of ways to make an impression and forge your LGO experience while you're here. Also, given the instant access to new groups of classmates and friends from a variety of professional experiences, it's not uncommon for our students to take small pivots in their careers, explore new ventures with the support of their advisors and classmates, getting to know the partner companies who we work with, and different routes to explore. That's through often one of the biggest parts of the program is a 6-month industry-based research internship at one of our partner companies, which is a good example of exploring new opportunities, and also a very immersive way to gain experience working at a company, and specifically in a project you may never have seen before yourself. So that's more as a student too. And then thinking further out in the long term, your goals may change and adjust. Thinking about how an MBA and an MS degree increases your earning power is just as important as thinking about how these degrees allow you to be flexible in multiple functions as well. So this just brings me to my last point about possibilities too, that LGO students are not just looking at what opportunities present themselves, but what types of possibilities will arise with added perspective and insights while you're here. All of our students do participate in transformational leadership training that we have a lot of feedback. It just sort of opens their eyes on what kind of leader they are and who they want to be in the workplace. And, this comes with a lot of support, particularly from our extensive alumni network of over 1,400 who are, in addition to your classmates, a wonderful connection close by. We have a lot of demonstrated commitment from our alumni to hire other LGO grads and open up their network, help with job searches too, just in ways that perhaps they haven't expected. So it's a testament to, over 85% of our recent graduates finding their job after LGO, either through the LGO network or Sloan's Career Development Office. Is a very cohesive and supportive set of resources for our students. So again, just thinking about what makes sense for you, what you're hoping to get out of your dual degree program, thinking through those terms too, in the short term and long term can be helpful. So now let's turn it over to our panelists again. If perhaps you could talk a little bit about, when thinking about the, impact on your career, could you discuss ways in which LGO has helped you so far in your career journey? Or Elizabeth, as you begin your career journey.
I can start. I think my answer would be short. I think the ways LGO helped me include exploring new industries through the partner companies, but also even after I was doing, or while I was doing my 6-month internship, the strength of the network at J&J really was the reason I got the offer in time, and also ended up deciding to go. I decided to go mainly, well, I've heard a lot of great things about the company in general, and the 6 months I spent there was really great as well. But I think a lot of these partner companies fall in the bucket, and what ended up putting J&J over the top for me was because I had worked for, or I haven't actually worked for her, one of the alums, Christy Doris, she really, and in talking to her, she's a really good mentor, good advocator. Even though I wasn't working for her, she met with me every month, and everyone I met with who knew of her had great things to say for her. So I wanted to work under her, and that's mostly why I ended up taking that job. And I also have some more recent alums who've connected me with a lot of new people because I was moving to a new place. I was moving from Boston to Jacksonville. Just the extent in which alums go into helping us was really, really powerful for me, and got to experience it firsthand.
Chen and I both unmuted at the exact same time. Okay, I'm gonna go quick. I think a main thing is that I really did get the confidence to try new things. When I first came to LGO, I grew up in New York, and I went to undergrad in New York. I'd never left New York before in my life. And, I made the very big move to Boston. And so I was scared about that, but meeting new people who were all not only like a diverse set of people, but they all had such diverse experiences, and they were all trying new things. It was really inspirational to be around. And so originally, because I came from pharma, I thought, oh, I'll do my internship at one of the pharma partners, but I ended up not doing that. And I went to a public utility, which is something that I had never considered that I would be interested in before. Certainly, applying to Google, I wasn't even going to bother because I was like, they're not going to want me. And so just kind of building the confidence over time. And then for career specifically, actually my hiring manager is an LGO 11 and his director is an LGO 07. And so he reached out to me specifically from the LGO resume book. And so the benefit there is that there is this network of people in positions, and they understand the value of the education that you've had, I guess, as opposed to just a more sort of general MBA. And so my screening call with him was, he really wanted to hear all the details about my internship and my thesis and things like that. And so we were really able to connect on sort of a higher level. And so he hired me and I joined. Like I said, I hadn't even considered applying before that because I figured I wouldn't get it. And another classmate of mine joined from at the same time in 2019. And both of us have felt that we had very accelerated job progression, mainly because the skills that you learn at LGO, and particularly what you learn doing at your internship and on your thesis, really lets you like hit the ground running. And people would often remark, wow, I can't, you're picking this up so quickly and things like that. And so it really just kind of gives you the confidence to go in and make a difference.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, in my case, I had been working for 8 years before going to LGO. So my career had a direction already. So I knew kind of like my next position was going to be like the engineering manager and then director. And so I had already that trajectory. And but really what after coming from LGO, just like Megan, it gave me kind of like open span of opportunities for me. And I did the jump not only of a different position, but also on industries. And that's what a dual degree will give you. I joined Ford in a leadership rotational program that is with a focus on general management. So all of my rotations were more kind of like to the business side of things. Really enjoyed that. But then after I graduated the program, I got into my new position is manufacturing transformation. So really that's when the LGO part came. Given the focus on operations that we have, everything you learn, we toured like practically, I don't know, like 25 to 30 plants around the world in the US domestic plant trek, and also we did our international plant trek in China and Asia. So all of those experiences really came to life, when you are in the workplace. So that being said, also another important thing that is kind of like the informal part of it, we kept our WhatsApp group that we started since the beginning with the LGOs from my class. And even just like some intel, right? You need to learn about something that you don't know, but there's someone from your class that will know because they have done it before. So you can just have a 30-minute call with them, and they will kind of like give you some direction, things like that, like career opportunities as well. They will reach out to you because you are an LGO. They know you. So it's a great network. The other thing is I had the opportunity to go to the LGO alumni conference in Nashville, which was great. That was the first one for me, actually. And it was great because not only I got to see people from my class, but different classes, like from 20 years ago, from 15 years ago, and you get to talk to them. What are they doing currently? How are their careers and so on. And again, you had the opportunity to reach out to everyone in the network. And I think that's awesome from the program.
Great, thank you. And it's a good point you bring up too, Cheta. The LGO program has been around. This is its 35th year. So it's very empowering, exciting to see alumni from the duration of the program, see where their journeys have gone, and being able to connect with them, particularly at the alumni conference. Glad you could attend, hopefully, and the next one's coming up soon too. So, all right, wonderful. One more slide here just to talk a little bit about some of the more unique aspects of LGO that can also be a benefit to you while you're a student and then beyond. Obviously, there's a lot of collaboration going on with 7 engineering departments as well as Sloan, and then the greater MIT community with clubs, case competitions, extracurricular resources that you as an LGO student have access to get involved. However, you can manage your time accordingly and prioritize as well. I know it's a bit of a tricky puzzle that I'm sure our panelists can address too. But it's a unique program that generally does take time planning and time management to ensure that you're getting involved with everything that you want to do. Just a couple of quick examples of some of the cross-campus opportunities is the Sustainability Initiative, which is very popular with Sloan's curriculum, introducing students to basic sustainability concepts, and events like the Sustainability Lunch Series, which provides the chance for deeper engagement. Also, the Sustainability Certificate is an option available to students in LGO and MBA. There's also the Martin Trust Center for entrepreneurship, which is very popular as well. It's a great opportunity to gain knowledge and educate students in innovation-driven entrepreneurship with a significant focus as well on stewardship. So there's a lot of resources and ways to connect different competitions for seed funding, like the Sandbox competition that is at MIT, among many other ways to get involved with your classmates in LGO, Sloan, your engineering department, and beyond. There's also a lot of different professional development and networking opportunities that was touched on already a bit. In addition to the LGO program office and career development office from Sloan, another significant ROI for our students includes that direct access to our partner companies of over 20 industry companies. That's another unique component of the dual degree. and getting to know our students. They are also who help fund the program and provide fellowships for each of our admitted students. But they also invest in our students' professional growth by providing a guaranteed 6-month industry-based research internship that is the foundation of your thesis, which is another required component of the LGO program. But in addition to this, the domestic plant trek, which we've heard a bit about as well, and other networking opportunities and seminars to get to know the companies and many alumni from LGO who work at these companies is a great opportunity that's specifically for our students. And it's a unique layer that as a result, about each year, 40 to 50% of our graduates do work at one of our partner companies. And so there's a huge investment there as well. And then again, as I mentioned, the huge alumni network that we've heard some great examples too of the depth of commitment and investing in graduates and continuing that way of helping each other. It's after graduating, it's as a student too in the coursework that you have alumni coaches, especially in one of your summer classes. So you're exposed to a lot of growth and different ways of thinking from mentors who are really invested in your success. And then lastly, I'll just speak a little bit to the action learning and experiential component, because you'll find a lot of hands-on approach. I think the biggest is probably from that 6-month research internship that you're embedded in and really diving deep on your project with your partner company. But another example are the action learning labs, which is a great way to gain hands-on learning experience on site with host organizations to solve real business challenges. These are through elective courses at Sloan that you can take as an LGO student. Popular ones that LGO students have taken in the past include the Global Entrepreneurship Lab, as well as an analytics lab that also stands out. It's pretty fun. There's also a product design course too, which is often working with a company startup or a new product too. So you get an idea of the entire design process, design for manufacturing, project architecture, and simulation. So it's a really nice from start to end experience in working with a company on a new project. So, with that in mind, I wonder if we can ask our students, or ask our alumni if they could talk about any specific example of a classroom or extracurricular experience that has helped since then in a work situation that you can draw from.
I'll go quick on one example. And I don't want to spoil it for everyone in the call, but the beer game was kind of like revealing for me. And then a few years later, it all came into practice. I see, like for everyone in the call that is not familiar with the beer game, it's a game, sort of a tradition at LGO that you do at the beginning. And it just has to do with how you have to work with demand in your plants, and then make sure that you have kind of like a stability in your system. It could be a manufacturing plant, or it could be other cases. But I mean, it came into practice for me in the last week or so. So that was a very, very particular example. I'll leave it there. I think if you go into Wikipedia, you will learn a little bit more about that. But if you join the program, for sure you will have an opportunity over the summer to do the beer game. I have to say, it has nothing to do with drinking beer, by the way. I had to, yeah.
For me, I think it was definitely a class on the Sloan side that OP, what was that? Organizations and Processes. And we had to do this sort of like elaborate role-playing game where you had a different role within a company, and you were told somebody was unhappy about something and you needed to figure out how to gain alignment. And I think, having worked as an individual contributor my entire career, I never really encountered that kind of experience. And it's something that now I'm doing constantly. And so I really appreciate there were a few role-playing exercises and cases that we read that were like very specific towards this sort of difficulty of managing to still be friendly with colleagues, but also having, you know, expressing your expectations and making sure that things are getting done, which I think as ICs is really sort of not something we experience a lot. So I've been using that a lot.
Not yet for my career after LGO, but I agree. OP helped me understand so many things my old organization was doing when I was sitting in that class.
Great, thank you. So now we've got some time. We're going to try and go through quickly, you know, as many questions as we can from our guests today. Pam, would you like to share a question for the panelists to answer?
Yes, definitely. So one of the questions that came in was, how have your chosen engineering departments for the program influenced your postgraduate career or not influenced? So how did sort of your engineering discipline influence your career post-LGO?
I can speak to that. So I had done chemical engineering undergrad, but then mechanical engineering at LGO. And the reason that I decided to do mechanical was because it has much more broad, sort of much more breadth of types of classes you can take and things like that. And so I think that by doing the mechanical engineering, I sort of expanded my horizons a bit, but specifically in classes that I learned, I've taken on kind of more of a hybrid role at Google where I do program management and then also some not real software engineering, but systems optimization stuff. And so that really has come in handy for me.
Great. Any other thoughts?
In my case, as I said before, right after LGO, I got into this program and it was kind of like more focused in the business side. But then what the I did mechanical. What the mechanical degree gave me is kind of like the opportunity to look at other positions in the company that have more to do with operations, with engineering, and even manufacturing as well. I don't think that I will have that opportunity if I wouldn't have had the master's in mechanical.
I'll add quickly because my undergrad degree is the same as what I ended up doing engineering wise, but I think it gave me more depth. I was able to take engineering classes at MIT because they had such a wide variety of offering even within an engineering department that I didn't have in my undergrad. So I was able to build out more depth and give me some more confidence going into a non-tech company that I'd be able to influence more some of the technical decisions. Yes, I think that is what I foresee coming. For now, it's just helping me build out more skills in areas in computer science that I didn't have before.
Great, thanks. Another question, this is specifically to the alumni who have been out for a few years. How set has your career path or career interest been post-graduation? And how has the LGO experience and network empowered you to leave more doors open post-graduation?
Well, probably I will go here because I'm 18. I think really, like I said before, it has opened so many different opportunities. I love working for a former company. I will not stop so because I was in the aerospace industry before. I never thought about going into automobile company, but that opportunity opened, and then I came in here. I have learned so many things, especially because Ford is a kind of like very complex system, and there are so many things that you can do that not necessarily have just to do with vehicles. That being said, people from the network have reached out to me with opportunities, and that's great, I think, because you know they know your background, and then you get to talk to people, learn what's out there, think about like other alternate opportunities in your career. And it's always good to be aware and informed, right? So you don't want to have all of your eggs in one basket. I think the LGO network allows you to do that, or helps you think about other things.
I think I'm going to end up restating some of what I said before, but there are a few things. So the first, obviously, is that I was hired by an LGO, and our manager above that was an LGO, and that helped me build up a lot of camaraderie with someone who I normally wouldn't have a lot of access to. And so he has supported me in going up for promotions and things like that, and that's like a huge benefit to have. There's also the ability to hit the ground running. You just spent 6 months working at a company, working on a very complex problem for them. If you've done an action lab, you spent the 6 months then after that you were working on another complex lab, a complex problem for a company, and you're sort of in the groove of things. And I think that that's super beneficial from that standpoint. I had a third one. I don't remember it. I'm sorry. It'll come to me.
No problem. Let us know. Okay, great. Maybe time for one more question. Pam, do you have one, or I could also pick one?
Yeah, I have one here. So looking back, what aspects of the LGO program were different than you expected, positive or negative?
For me, it's pretty obvious. I said I was coming to LGO the week before the country shut down in 2020. So that was completely different from everything anybody who's gone through the program has experienced. So that was something not most of us have expected when we started. But I think it was tough going through classes on Zoom for most of our time there. Our summer was on Zoom, fall was on Zoom, half of the first spring was on Zoom. So the real the completely in-person semester was our very final semester. But I guess that could be a negative, but also in a positive way that helped our class be more creative about how we wanted to get to know each other, what activities to do together to still build that community and have that bond. So we ended up coming up with a lot more different types of activities that probably were more open to people who perhaps have different interests. So we go on hikes, we have small dinner gatherings, we had board game nights, all these things were the situation forced us to come up with more creative ways to get to know each other. And these, I think, were positive that our class got to go through together. And yeah, it was tough going through Zoom, and I'd say that was the negative. Positively, we still built the bond that I feel like all the other LGO classes I've interacted with have.
Okay, great. Any other thoughts?
So I cannot multitask, and I was answering some questions here in the chat, but can you please repeat the question?
Sure. I think, and Pam, correct me if I'm wrong, anything that you were not expecting from the LGO experience, positive or negative?
Okay, I'll say, yeah, that's what I thought. But the core summer that we have, there's this, the first week where you are meeting everyone, and then a few team building exercises and so on. Right after that, it's when we start. I wasn't really expecting the ramp up. It went so quickly. It was exponential, right? Like that workload that we will get. Thankfully, you are paired with your core team of very smart individuals, and I really appreciated that. We all helped each other. We worked until late hours at night, and And then as Elizabeth said, you know, you create this bonding that I still remember, right? And then that stays with you throughout the experience of the 2 years, because later you come and then join the other MBAs, and you will be in other core teams with your cohort in MBAs. But I think what you do during that summer, it stays with you throughout the 2 years. And we still talk to each other. Like we have with this core team from LGO, we have our WhatsApp group, and we share ideas. I saw some of them in Nashville when I went to the alumni conference. And I think it has to do with, you know, what they say is like you create bonding when you are, you work through adversity together. But again, the workload, that's something that I wasn't really expecting. And I'm not trying to scare anyone here, right? But I think, and everyone says this, the only way you can work through it, and I think it's designed that way, is if you work in your team, with your team. Otherwise, it will be so difficult to really make all of the projects you have to make, study for the exams, and then try to have fun as well in the journey.
Thank you so much to both of you. That's really helpful to hear. Megan had to jump off too, as we are at our time limit. So just want to thank everyone for joining today, and especially thank our wonderful panelists. Thank you for being here and sharing your insights. If you're interested, I know we weren't able to get to some folks' questions, so we are having many more virtual events coming up, as well as some on-campus ones. One of note is our preview day event on Friday, September 16th, which is particularly a great way to connect with more alumni and current students in the overall community here. But please feel free to check out our events webpage. There's a lot more events for you to try and explore and get to know more members of the community here. Thank you all for joining today. We hope this was useful, and we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care.
Thank you.